Hi, this is so exciting. I've never done this before, so I feel like a little kid with sweaty palms. I'm so excited.
She is here, you guys. I am honored. First of all, we're going to do an introduction, but I do want everyone to know a little bit of a backstory. So, Jenna, I've been watching Jenna for, over 10 years. When I started my Etsy shop, I was working late nights on Etsy orders, listening to you. You were like my best friend at midnight, Jenna.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
so crazy. It's crazy how we get to like grow up together and then see where and when our lives like totally intersect, which is so cool about the internet.
Totally, totally. And so let's do a little introduction because I'm sure people recognize you. They might follow you. We have a lot of our students who are going to be joining, but let's do a little bit of an introduction. You are fellow Minnesotan,
Yes.
fellow Minnesotan. God bless Minnesota.
Yes.
But can you share a little bit about your background, your expertise, and really what you are known for?
Yeah. So I graduated college and went into the corporate world, and I always had kind of the vision of success like that was given to us in a textbook of like what powerful, successful women looked like. And I always used to joke that like I want to come home and kick off my high heels and like I'm going to have the corner office and all these different things. And I entered into the corporate world and I started working for Target, which if you are a Minnesotan, it's like a big deal, right? And I very quickly just started to see how corporate America is this ladder climb with golden handcuffs and how oftentimes it's like they're planning your life for you without your input, right? And I really quickly just realized, wow, this isn't for me. This can be super successful for other people, but it just didn't resonate with like what I wanted for my life. And so I bought a camera on Craigslist for $300 and I taught myself how to use it and I became a wedding photographer. And that is what I did for nearly a decade. I love love stories. I love weddings. This was like even pre-Pinterest era. So like when the wedding blogs were where you would get your inspo from. And as I started to grow up and as me and my husband, who's my college sweetheart, decided we wanted to start a family, a whole new chapter started to unfold where I realized I'd built a super successful photography business. But again, if I didn't show up, I wasn't getting paid. And so I had almost created a job, a very expensive, beautiful job, but a job nonetheless. And I really thought about like, when I have kids, can I be gone every weekend in the summer and be editing every single week? And we went through a season of loss as we were trying to grow our family. And in that season, I promised myself, I'm going to find a different way. I'm going to find a better way. I want to build something that can work while I rest. And that was really the start of one, leveraging Pinterest to a whole new capacity, but two, building my business with systems that can run while I rest. And it's not saying I'm passive. I love work. I love building a business. There is so many seasons of hustle required, but I always argue that if hustle is the only way to maintain your business, that's not the dream, right? And so I started the Gold Digger podcast, which ran for over 9.5 years, 968 episodes that I recently put on pause. And I wrote a book that became a New York Times bestseller. And I am just a multi-passionate creative person. I resonate so deeply with Etsy sellers because you guys have so many ideas. It's the kind of people that are never short on ideas, right? We have a million ideas and a million things we want to put out into the world. And so today I live in Minnesota. It's freezing cold out. I have two daughters. They are 4 and 7. And I'm in a very beautiful place in my career where I have built the systems that support the business and not the business that requires the systems. And so I'm excited to talk Pinterest with you guys today.
Yes, yes. We are excited to talk Pinterest too. Pinterest is huge for Etsy sellers. So this audience is going to be a lot of Etsy sellers, people who are wanting to grow their e-commerce business. And if we talk a lot about Pinterest in our program with our students, but it is such a great source of free traffic. And over the summer, Jenna and I met in person. And what I noticed about Jenna was she has such a peace about how she runs things. She carries such like it's like this air of like wisdom and peace about her business. Yet, like, if you guys follow her, she's basically famous. So we're honored to have you, Jenna. And I just admire the peace that you carry in your business. And I think Pinterest has to be a component of this, of what's done, that for you. So Today, you guys have submitted some questions about Pinterest, and we are going to pull up some of your questions, but of course, we can use the chat as well. So our chat is it'll connect in a second. So we'll see your questions popping up, but I do have someone sending them to me. And then if you're watching this later, we'll have great resources for you. And everyone here live is going to have an amazing opportunity to learn more about Pinterest from Jenna later on. So let's jump into some of your questions. First of all, Jenna, Pinterest, like, what would you say it's done for you?
Yeah. So I think every business owner has had that moment where there's that quote, like, if you build it, they will come. And we've had this moment of reckoning that that is not true, right? You can build the most amazing thing. You can create the most amazing product. It doesn't mean that people will find it. And so I often think of Pinterest almost as like the road signs that lead people on the path to knowing who I am, to trusting me, and to purchasing my offers. And so when I think about Pinterest, it's literally this like quiet system running in the background that requires very little work, very little upkeep, zero engaging. All the things that we tend to hate about social media don't exist on Pinterest. And so it's almost like this assistant of yours that never sleeps, never asks for a raise, and is always working to keep your work working for you for months. And for me, that's the biggest thing, is especially when I became a mom, anytime that I was away from my kids, I had to know that it was worth it, right? I had to know that there was an ROI on that time. And so when I started to really understand, like, hey, Pinterest is this thing that requires very little effort, very little time, and allows me to not feel like I'm on the constant hamster wheel of churning out content that lives and dies within a few hours without ever making an impact. It changed the way that I create. So I can actually create less with more impact. And so that's kind of like the synopsis of what it's doing. And it's sending tens of thousands of visitors to my site every month with about 1 hour a week of work. So it's pretty amazing.
That's insane. And I think a cool part about Pinterest is the work doesn't even have to be you doing it, right? Can't you have someone?
Okay, so this is what I tell people. So the system that we teach around Pinterest takes around an hour a week. So the average entrepreneur in recent studies is spending about 19 to 20 hours a week on marketing and creating content. That is half of our work week. That is a lot of time. And so if you could trade in some of that time that you're spending on creating churn and burn content and leverage stuff that you've already built, wouldn't that be worth it? But the other thing is that if you had someone in your life, whether it is a virtual assistant or a nanny or your college friend or your sister, someone that wants just a little bit of side money, you could pay somebody around 1 hour a week to run this whole strategy for you. And so I'm like, think about it. If the average VA charges $30 to $35, that is the best money you could literally spend all week as a business owner.
Wow. That's huge. That is huge. And Pinterest, though, a lot of people, it's the same customer on Pinterest as Etsy. I want to remind people of that.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, there's so much synergy there. Your Etsy customer is on Pinterest. This is like probably one of the best platforms you should be on. But how long did it take you to become good at this, Jenna? Because I know there's people watching right now who are feeling like, okay, I've been doing Pinterest for 3 weeks and I'm not seeing any results. It's not working.
Okay, so here's the exciting thing about Pinterest that people have to understand, especially in this world where we're so used to instant everything, right? Pinterest is the long game, which means it might take a little longer to gain traction, but guess what? Once you gain that traction, it is moving on and on and on and on. So this is where like patience is a virtue is the thing. But here's the thing. The learning curve is way shorter than a lot of people think it out to be. And we usually tell our students in about 30 to 60 days, if you are following this system, you will start to see the uptick in traffic. And what's cool about that is once you start moving upwards, it is just continuing to grow and grow and grow. So it's like those stories that we heard as kids, like if you invest this money today, in 7 years, it'll be doubled. That is the truth for when it comes to Pinterest. No other platform compounds like that. And so anytime you're spending on it today is going to be paying you back in the future. And so that's for me where it's like, yeah, you might not get results tomorrow. You might be posting a little bit and feeling like, well, is this actually working? But once you start to get that traction and you understand the system, Oh my gosh. And I recently just had a friend, actually a mutual friend of ours. So our mutual photographer, Bri, who did photos, she texted me the other day and she goes, I have the best testimonial for Pinterest. And she's like, a few years ago, my virtual assistant took your Pinterest course. She started pinning. And then she had a baby and she ended up leaving the company and we never picked it up again. She goes, I haven't even opened my Pinterest account in 3 years. I still get inquiries to this day from the work that she pinned years ago. And that was her thing where she's like, I am 100% going all in on this because I need to keep leveraging it. But it is the most forgiving platform, right? So there are so many platforms where it feels like if you even take a day off, you're screwed. That is not what happens. And so everything compounds. And to me, if I'm looking at this from an investor and looking at the investment being my time, anything that compounds is going to be the best way to spend my precious time and the best ROI as well.
Yeah, that is so true. What I know, like my best pins on Pinterest were from 10 years ago.
Isn't
Like,
it crazy? It's so crazy.
It is
It's
crazy. Like
wild.
that would never happen on Instagram or.
Well, no. And it's crazy too, because recent studies show, so like the average shelf life of a post on Instagram is about 24 to 48 hours. And with this last year, we kind of call it the TikTokification of Instagram, where you notice that like you're not even seeing the people that you follow's content. It's more of the viral, like flash in the pan type content that is just meant to keep your attention and keep you scrolling. It's not necessarily the type of content you chose to follow. And so 24 to 48 hours, you don't really know how many of your followers are even seeing it. The average half-life of one pin is 13 plus months. So if you pin one pin, it'll get half the engagement and interactions in the first 13 months. So when you think about how much time it takes, like the other night, actually last night, I was trying to create a carousel. The kids had gone to bed and I was like, I have this great idea for a post. It took me so long to make it, right? Slide by slide, and then the caption and then the music. And I'm like, this literally just took me like an hour and a half to make this post. I could make an entire week's worth of content on Pinterest that could be running for the next year. The only reason why I stay on a platform like Instagram is to get people off of it. Like that is the truth. It's like, I've got to meet you where you're at to show you there's something different and something better. And so again, like when you look at lifespan and you look at where your hours are going, how long your posts live, it's just a very easy argument. And I think when we think like a CEO, which a lot of creatives have a very hard time even attaching themselves to that name or that energy. We like to think of ourselves as artists and creators and all these things. But like when you think like a CEO, you have to be looking at things like your return on your investment, and the investment not just being money, but time. And I think time is our currency. And if we want to do more art and if we want to create more things, we have to be good stewards of our time. And for me, it's like 1 hour to run an entire week's worth of strategy versus an hour and a half to create one carousel that's already dead in the water. There's just no comparison.
That's amazing. And for everyone who has an Etsy shop right now, I want you to be able to recognize when you are seeing the ROI from Pinterest. So I want to show you guys something really quick. And everyone should take a sec and actually look at this. But when you are, I'm going to share my screen, when you are on your Etsy account. Okay, so this is my Etsy. You can see actually the traffic from every single platform. So pay close attention to this. And so for me,
look at that. Look at that.
You guys, this is free from Pinterest. And the embarrassing part is I probably spent 10 to 20 times more time on Facebook.
Yeah.
Oops.
That's
yeah.
wild. And it's only going to get bigger, right? It's like a snowball picking up steam going down the hill. And so like that right there, I want everybody to see this because this is the best testament. And Dylan, how much time do you spend on Pinterest, right? To get those results? Like you don't have to be famous. You don't have to have a huge following. Like my following is minuscule compared to other platforms. It is not a popularity contest over there. That is like so awesome. I love it.
And everyone, like I'm not a Pinterest expert, but we have access right now to Jenna, who is. Like I was not a Pinterest expert when I started pinning. I was kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall and these were my results. But imagine if you approach it with an actual strategy the first time you try it, like your results could, become this even sooner. And this is consistency with Pinterest for a couple of years. Yeah. Now, once I had the flood of traffic from Pinterest, I didn't even keep up with it because I just had more traffic than I really needed. So even if you just stay consistent with it, and how long, Jenna, like, is it like a month, couple months? How long should they stay consistent?
Well, I would say, I mean, in my dream world, for everyone listening, in my dream world, you would spend just 1 hour a week on the platform.
Okay.
That's it. And I just think, we all have excuses on how we're busy. And I understand and have empathy for the feeling of like, I can't add another platform, because how many of us have bought the lie that like we need to be everywhere and we need to be omnipresent, we need to be showing up. The thing that I would say is if you can just dedicate 1 hour of your week and getting the system down, or outsource the 1 hour of your week, again, the results will continue to compound and grow, and you will be getting traffic that you can decide where it goes. Like if you're like, I don't have the capacity to blow up right now, like I can't create to keep up with the demand, grow your email list. If you're showing up on people's podcasts, send people to that. If you're trying to grow your Instagram, send your pins to your Instagram and grow it. If you have a YouTube, I mean, there's so many different ways that you can direct that traffic. Basically, imagine that every single pin on the platform is like a sign saying, go here next, go here next. And we have this saying in my business, and the saying is no dead ends. So if somebody gets to the bottom of a page, or somebody gets to the bottom of a product listing, and they're not making a decision, where do we want them to go? What is the most valuable step for them to take next? And so Pinterest is basically like putting out all these road signs. And really quick, I just want to point out, because I think some people don't understand this, Dylan, is at least once a week, somebody in my life will screenshot a pin on Pinterest that's mine, and they'll say, oh my gosh, you're on Pinterest. And I'm like, I know, I put that there. And people don't realize that a lot of the consumers are just, looking at what's already on there. But we want to change you from being a consumer of Pinterest. I mean, girl, I love to consume Pinterest. I never feel worse about myself when I'm on that platform. But I want to shift you from being a consumer to a creator on Pinterest. And so people don't realize that you can very easily upload anything to the platform, any image. You can choose where that image leads to. So you can link to any URL. So literally any URL that exists on the internet, whether it's your website, a blog, a sales page, a product image, you can link to that. And so you are the one creating and putting it onto the platform. And I just wanted to simplify that distinction so people aren't wondering, well, like, how does this work if they're just used to consuming? We want to shift you out from consumption into creation. And that shift is actually a really small bridge you have to cross.
Amazing. Yeah. And it's a low lift. It's way easier to learn than like TikTok or Instagram or
so much better. You don't even have to show your face, which honestly is like the dream, right? Like so many of us, I was telling someone today, and I told you, Dylan, like I haven't been on camera in over a month. And I was like, I kind of love like my couch creation life over here. Like I was like, what are you wearing tomorrow? What are you going to do? And so for a lot of creators too, it's like, we want the focus to be on our art, not necessarily on what we look like, or we don't want to feel like we have to show up online and be like a dancing, for the algorithm. And so you can be absolutely faceless on Pinterest. In fact, that will likely perform better anyways. If you're not a recognizable face, creating pins of your products and your offers is exactly what you need to do over there.
Yes. Yeah. You can totally be faceless, which means you can train someone else to do it for you too.
Exactly.
And yeah, that's perfect. Now, Jenna, because we have hundreds of people watching this, and I know we're live right now, so I want to make sure that we give them an opportunity to learn more before we jump into some rapid fire Q&A that that you guys have submitted. So Jenna, should we talk about what you are doing in a few days?
Yeah, it's starting on Sunday. So last year I did my first ever boot camp. And I have to tell you, it was the most fun I've had on the internet in a long time. And I think that a lot of times we feel so intimidated with simply getting started. Like, how do I start? And when it comes to Pinterest, nothing about it is complicated, but it does require knowing the right order and the right way to do things. And so I wanted to just remove all of the complication and guide people through. So I have a 5-day bootcamp. I go live just like this. It's about 15 minutes a day. And then I do a live Q&A at the end of each day. There's a cohort of people. There are thousands of people. Right now we have 2,000 people signed up. And inside of the Facebook community, I get to do live reviews of people who are doing the homework. We're doing things like setting up your profile right from the very beginning, helping you understand what type of content will work best based on your business type. I'm showing you how to do research to maybe ideate new ideas, new products, new offers. I'm also showing you how you're literally sitting on a gold mine right now without even realizing, like you don't even need to make anything more to rock it on Pinterest. And so it's super fun. It's very quick. There's daily assignments. This year we added an AI component so that every day you literally have an assistant that will walk you through what you just learned so that you can literally complete the assignments in like 5 minutes. And it's just a really beautiful, warm community. Like, one thing I just love is being live with people who are just like you, who want a different way, who want a more sustainable system, who want to save time and claim it back. And so I would love to teach you. And it's $27. So I went to Starbucks the other day and bought like 2 drinks. I was like, this is the cost of the boot camp. Like, in the sense of like, we can invest in learning these things and putting ourselves on the line to like hold ourselves accountable, right? Because how many free PDFs do we have sitting in our drafts folder or in our inbox? Like, I want you to have skin in the game and I want you to be invested so that you show up and learn alongside of us. So I'm so excited about it.
That is the best ROI, Jenna. When I heard the price, I was like, you mean 277?
Yeah.
I was like,
$27.
At a zero? No.
Oh.
You guys, in 5 days, you can commit to anything for 5 days.
Yeah,
5 days.
I know. And it's just really fun. Like, we have so many amazing artists and humans, and it just restores my faith in humanity, like that there are good people doing good work that just need their work to be found. Like, I want you to be able to spend more time doing what fills you up, whether it's creating your work, creating your art, or just like being outside and being in nature. And like, for me, again, time is my currency. And so I feel like my call on this planet is to help people spend their one precious life so well. And so I just am so passionate about it. It's so much easier when you're guided step by step, so you're not second guessing things. And there's these little strategy nuances that you want to understand as you start setting things up so that you feel confident that you're implementing in the right way, in the right order. So again, it's not hard. It just needs to be guided.
Exactly. And if you're sitting here thinking like, well, Pinterest didn't work for me. Of course it didn't work for you if you didn't know.
Give me a chance to show you that it can work for you, because I have had 28,000 students from literally every genre, niche. And I want to tell you something, and I mean this with like the biggest hug in the world. Everyone thinks they're too unique to work on the platform. And I want to say you are absolutely special and you are precious, but you are not too special for a search engine to not be able to connect people to your work. So
totally. And Pinterest and Etsy, I mean, it
was
was
best friends.
Best
Literally.
friends. And just to show you, if you're thinking, well, I still am not sure about it, you guys look at the difference in traffic from what Pinterest drove, 552,000 visits. Look at my Etsy marketing and SEO. It almost drove as much as that. It drove more than the Etsy search bar.
And you know what I was going to say too, Dylan, is when you learn how to use Pinterest strategically, the things that you learn will actually apply really well to Etsy as well, because they are almost both search engines, right? And so when we think about things like product listings and descriptions, you're likely already doing the work required to be successful on Pinterest and vice versa. And so it's like they play well together and nothing is going to contradict the other. So as your SEO builds, so does your Pinterest, because you're working on 2 different platforms that are both operating like search engines.
Totally. Yeah. You become more of a master at SEO and understanding your customer, which is huge. Yeah. Yes. So, and by the way, do they have to do Pinterest ads or is this organic, Jenna?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So we teach all organic. We do end up, so when we go through the bootcamp, this is more just introductory. Like, let's get you started. Let's get you set up. If you choose where you're like, I want the whole shebang, like I want to know every little nitty gritty detail, then you can learn other advanced strategies like ads. For me, I would say that 80% of what we do on Pinterest is purely organic. And then during launches, we leverage the paid because we found that like the pool there is just exactly who we're looking for. But all of the strategies that I teach are organic. Paid is interesting and it's awesome. One of the things that I love about Pinterest is before you put any dollars into anything, whether it's an ad on Facebook or Meta or Pinterest, you can split test all of it for free and start to get data so that anything you put money behind, you have already tested which color does the best, which title does the best. And so the cool thing about Pinterest is you can literally throw spaghetti at the wall and nobody's watching your feed. Your mom is not seeing that you just posted 10 things that all look kind of similar, but not totally similar. And so you get to use it as like a testing ground for your offers, for your products, for your keywords, and nobody is batting an eyelash at it. And so I think too, it's like nowadays, people are so afraid to even put anything out there in case it flops or in case people are judging them. Pinterest is like the judgment-free playground where you get to put everything into it and all you get back is data and insight that will guide you forward.
Amazing. Amazing. And I'm hearing notes that tons of you are signing up, which is incredible.
I'm so excited.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you guys. I can't stress how important being live is. And just like how much fun it is. Like, I hope you can feel my energy because I'm just like, I want to shake entrepreneurs by the shoulders gently and warmly and just say there is a better way. And I'm so excited to have so many artists because I just think that at the heart of where we are as humans, like we want more art. We want more people doing the things that set them on fire. And if I know anything about Etsy sellers, it's people that usually start their businesses out of passion. And I'm like, I want to teach the passionate people. So I love it.
Yes. Yes. Okay. And some of you have questions. So let's go ahead and you can click on the link in the chat, by the way. You'll see that link to join the bootcamp, $27, less than your Starbucks drinks, better ROI. Let's go. All right. So jumping into your questions, Jenna, what would you say has been like your best pins? And if someone's saying, well, like what would a good pin be? Just in general, what would you say?
Okay. So good pins have a path in mind. So you want to be thinking not just what will go viral on Pinterest or what would gain a lot of likes and saves, but you want to think what is going to lead people down the path that I want them to go down. So it's less about the actual pin and it's more about the path, right? You want to think through how does this pin lead somebody to purchasing something, to signing up for an email list, to getting on a wait list, to listening to something, to following, subscribing, right? And so for me, what I teach is less about vanity metrics, more about results, right? Like, again, I'm looking at the ROI. And so when I think about pins, a lot of people can teach like, here's how to get traffic from Pinterest, but like, what do you do with that traffic? If you don't have a clear path in mind, then the traffic is not necessarily leading to more sales or more results. And so when I think about pins, I'm not thinking like, okay, this photo of my desk is going to do really well, but I'm like, okay, what is this photo of my desk leading to and how is that leading to results? And so it's less about the actual content in the pin. It's more about the path that you send people on. And that's the thing that I want to teach people to think about, because what I often see happening, especially when it comes to platforms like Instagram and Facebook, is we'll say like, oh, this post went viral. And it's like, okay, but what was the result of the viralness, right? And a lot of times it's really hard to connect anything viral to like an actual result, tangible result. And so I want to retrain our brains to look more at the results and less at the like, oh, has wow factor. Or, wow, this looks really good on paper, but it didn't actually translate into my QuickBooks. And so that's what I always think about when it comes to pins is like, what is the path? And I think too, naturally, as you start thinking in that way, you become a better marketer because you're already thinking, okay, what is the path that somebody needs to take to discover my product and to feel comfortable and confident in their purchase, right? And it just changes the way that you communicate. It changes the way you create, and then it changes the way you pin.
Yes. And Jenna's, a marketing genius. So not just Pinterest, but you hear her talk about other platforms as well. And so getting to spend 5 days with her, you guys, that is a gift. Seriously, a gift for $27. Definitely click the link for that. Now, someone, Marsha, she asked a question about, should she be making all new boards if she has an old account? Should she like delete everything, or what do you think?
Yeah. So there's two options. And I walk people through this as well in the bootcamp, where you can either totally start fresh if you're like, I am embarrassed. Okay, here's a funny story, Dylan. So when I started on Pinterest, I was a wedding photographer. So I did not have any of the digital stuff that you see today. And I had one virtual assistant, and her name was Caitlin, and she lived in Wisconsin. And Caitlin had asked me, how are you using Pinterest? And I thought she meant like, what kind of boards are you making? So I'm like, oh, those recipes. Yep. God, I'm like my dream house. Like I totally didn't get it. And she's like, can I like see how Pinterest could work? I had boards that were like titled like "Clothe Me Please" and like really like cheeky titles that were literally not doing anything for me. And so if you're feeling almost like embarrassed by what is on your Pinterest account, or it is entirely irrelevant to what you do or what your ideal audience would even be interested in, if it's not adjacent to that, I would say just start fresh with a clean slate. However, you don't have to. A lot of people choose to just clean up their current profile. So anything that isn't relevant to your ideal audience, you can just make secret. I have so many secret little boards on there. Like every year, when the new year comes around, I create a new board for the new year. This year, I pinned a golden retriever, and you better believe what's in my house right now, a golden retriever. I told Drew, I said, watch out. There's a golden retriever on my Pinterest board. And then sure enough, guess who rescued a golden retriever? And so you can make secret boards and anything that's not applicable to your business. And so it just could take a little bit of time to clean up. But what you want is that you want to figure out which one feels better to you. There's no right or wrong option here. And if you're not currently using Pinterest strategically, it doesn't really matter which path you take. And then you just start moving forward. So you just want to clean things up. You want to really focus on the keywords you're using, which I will walk you through and teach you how to know how to do that. And then you want to really think. And here's the beautiful thing for Etsy users too. I took notes because I was like, I want to make sure you do not have to have a separate website to crush it on Pinterest. So I think there's a little fear of like, I have to have my own URL. Your Etsy listing URL is the link that you're going to use a lot of the time. So whether it's specific products or your Etsy shop, and every pin can point directly to where somebody can buy. And so like, I know for me, I go onto Pinterest all the time to find specific products. So me and Dylan both had color consults done and found that we're autumns, which is why we're dressed in brown. And I was trying to find brown sneakers. And so I went on to Pinterest, and I didn't type in like brown Adidas sneakers. I just typed in brown sneakers. And so there's a stat that's really important for Etsy sellers to know, which is 96% of searches on Etsy are unbranded, meaning people aren't typing in a specific brand. They are open to learning about new sellers, new creators. And so 96% means people are so open. They could type in a red sweater or a crocheted something or an embroidery kit. They're open to finding your products. And so that's also what's different is brand recognition isn't necessarily a thing on Pinterest, meaning people are so open to finding you. So I just think that's really exciting. So choose if you want to clean it up or you want to start fresh, either one is viable. And I can also walk you through how to make that decision really easy for you.
Yes, that is amazing. And you touched on boards and SEO. Yep. And actually, when you sign up for Jenna's Bootcamp on the 25th, I will be, just as a little thank you for, I'm Jenna's friend. So little thank you for supporting a friend here. You can get our 1,000 board SEO optimized titles and descriptions, and they are categorized, because we're crazy, categorized by customer type. So perfect, whatever your customer avatar is, we've built these for you, and you'll get the bonus in your inbox. So check that out. Now, Jenna, if someone is seeing traffic declining, and what would you say they need to do differently? Do they just need to make a bazillion pins or something else?
Okay, so I saw Maria's question and I love it. So sometimes when traffic drops, even if you're like putting real effort in, it is usually one of two things. So either the pins themselves aren't considered fresh enough, and I'll break that down in 1 second, or the keywords aren't matching what people are actually searching for. So Pinterest prioritizes what they call as fresh pins, meaning it doesn't need to be a brand new product. It just needs to be something that is differentiated from past content. So I am still pinning podcast episodes from 7 years ago, right? Like I am still pinning blog posts that I wrote forever ago. If they are still helpful, relevant, and reaching my ideal audience, the sky is the limit in terms of what you can create. You could create 100 different pins for one product or for one piece of content. So if you are not changing up your designs or your titles enough, Pinterest might not see it as fresh, which would mean that it's not distributing it as fresh content. This is a huge win because you could literally just pin 1 to 2 pins per day, which is actually what we teach inside of Pinterest. And you could blow up because it's just fresh content that they're prioritizing. Now, when I say 1 to 2 fresh pins a day, that does not mean you need to log in every single day and do that. You can literally log in once per week, set it and forget it, log out, and then pop back in the next week. The second thing is Oftentimes, the words that we use to describe our work, our products, our services, our content, our offers are different than that of what our ideal audience is typing in, right? So the way we describe something versus the words that they would use to describe what they're looking for can have a gap. And I want to help close that gap and show you here's how to know per volume what people are actually typing in the search bar. And if your work or your content or your product matches that, here's how to align your keyword use. Since Pinterest is a search engine, every single word that is put into that engine is utilized, right? From your bio to your description to the pins that you're creating in and of itself. And so we want to be super mindful and strategic with the keywords. And it's not actually hard. It's just making sure that there's total alignment there. And I can show you how to figure that out as well. So that's the two things that I would say if you're like working on it and it's not picking up. And then also, again, just like patience. I feel like so many entrepreneurs are afraid to experiment, and we've kind of got out of the habit, or we're like, this is what my brand looks like, so I'm only going to put out things that look like this. And we forget to like experiment and have fun and throw spaghetti at the wall. And so oftentimes if things aren't working, like you've got to just be willing to like play around. Like there is no risk and all reward around the corner for you. And so it's like we do things that are off brand on Pinterest because it's not looking at this, cohesive grid. It's like, wow, that pink color is crushing it. Let's keep doing more of that. I'm not a big pink girly, but like if it's going to work, I'm going to do it. And so you got to be willing to experiment. And I think too, those experimentations can lead you to making different decisions in your own business because you start to see what resonates and what works.
Yes. And that the SEO research and teaching people to understand what are people searching for, will that be part of the bootcamp?
Yes. So one of the whole days is dedicated to figuring out what you will create next or what you want to refresh to match. And it's like so simple and it's so fun. And the thing that I love is it helps you have confidence in anything that you are creating, knowing that people are actively looking for it, right? So I feel like one of my friends who's a Pinterest expert had said, Pinterest is like a library, a quiet library where Instagram is like a busy bar. And when you're on Instagram, it's like you're screaming and you're like, will anybody catch me? Will anyone pay attention? Does this matter to you? Do you hear me? Whereas Pinterest is like, oh, you want to check out that book? Here you go. Here it is. And so for me, it's totally changed the way that I create, where I can create less content, knowing that people are actively searching for it. And I can just hand them exactly what they need versus trying to get somebody's attention through stopping a scroll. So yes, that is part of the bootcamp. And I'm so excited to just walk through it because once you do that, you feel excited to create content because you're like, people actually want this. They're looking for it actively, which is fun.
Yes, yes. And let's do a little bit of more of a case study. We have someone named Tanya here who she is a landscape and nature artist.
Yep.
So that's like art, home decor kind of vibes. What would you say like 3 things that she could do on Pinterest would be?
Yeah. Okay. So wall art and home decor, I'm like so targeted by those categories right now because I love them. And so those are some of the strongest categories on Pinterest. So if you're not currently using it, please get over there. People are literally searching for it constantly. So 3 things you can do. So first, organize your boards around how people actually search. So like living room wall art, right? Like we're going to get really specific, large nature prints, mountain photography decor. Like we want to be hyper specific and not too like broad, because again, like that's one of my friends literally texted the other day and she's like, what should I put on my mantle? Like on my fireplace. Guess what? I went on to Pinterest. Second, you want to show your pieces in room settings whenever possible. So now with AI, you can use AI if you want, if you can generate mock-ups. But you want to, especially if you have a lifestyle product, show it in use, help somebody visualize, how does this work in my life? It's so much easier to buy a product when you can see scale and color and texture and different things like that. And then lastly, create pins for every size and format that you offer. So someone might be searching like oversized wall art, right? But then somebody might also be searching for like small framed artwork. So think through all the different ways that your art can be expanded, used, and like shown off, and then show it off. And like, that's so much fun. Show off your work so proudly and help people imagine it being in their lives. And I think that's what Pinterest really helps people do, is like visualize, like, what would that outfit look on me? What would that jewelry look like on me? How would this look in my home? And it's really just kind of this beautiful visual search engine that's so inspiring for people, but it's also an amazing point of purchase.
Yeah, that's amazing. So some of our sellers also sell on Amazon and they're used to the white backgrounds. So this is
Yes.
not the time to have the sterile white backgrounds.
Yes, no, and you can do that, but I think people just love like seeing things in a warm setting, right? It feels so sterile. Like Amazon feels so sterile to me. And so I mean I love it, but let's go. We can make it pretty.
Someone on YouTube said, if I have Etsy and Shopify, so their own
Yep.
website too, should they pin to both places? What do you think about
Absolutely.
that?
Pin everything that you possibly can. So essentially, like my big system is that we look at all the content coming out from the brand each week. This includes Instagram posts. I just started on Substack. It includes blog posts, podcast episodes, product links, new freebies, like anything that has its own individual URL. You should be making 5 to 10, even 20 pins for that one thing, which is, guess what? So exciting. Like imagine if you could stop creating content for the rest of the quarter and instead focused on really looking at what is my top content? What are my top offers? What are my top products? And how can I make sure that these are getting out into the world? Again, one pin today, the half-life of that pin is 13 plus months. So 13 months from now, you could be getting an order for something you're doing today without doing any additional work. And so what's awesome about that is like Shopify, you can send directly to your Shopify links. You can send directly to your Etsy links. You can send to your website. You can send to anywhere that has a URL. We have students that grow their Instagram from Pinterest, right? It feels like something that no one's ever thought of, but it's like, wow, you can do that. And one thing to add too is that now Pinterest pins are ranking in Google search. So Google and Pinterest are working. And so you don't even have to necessarily focus on Google SEO. Pinterest is already doing that for you. And it's a much more clickable platform to lead to purchase than somebody Googling a product. So yeah, you can pin to Shopify, Etsy, websites, blogs, podcasts, anywhere. And I love it.
That's really good advice. And now that it's working well with Google, I mean, wow, just for your brand in general, that's huge.
Yes.
Yeah. Question. Kate asked this question and it's about digital products. So she has a digital product shop, informative pins, but not many clicks.
Okay.
How could she maybe shift her strategy? Because I think she's probably represents a lot of people who feel like my pins are super informative. I'm using all this text, but like not getting clicks.
Yeah. So if you are creating almost like infographics or really wordy pins, a lot of times people will save them to come back to you, right? Like I am a serial screenshotter or like a post saver and I'm a terrible circle backer. Like that is just how my brain works. And so infographic pins are a great thing to add if you want to kind of boost your followers on Pinterest or get a lot of saves or just position yourself as an expert in a specific topic. So they are not bad. But if you are getting views and not clicks, your pins aren't necessarily creating enough curiosity or urgency yet. So let's say for digital products specifically, you have to sell the outcome, not the features of the offer, but like what is the outcome that someone has already attached to a desire, right? And so a lot of times what happens is that we tend to describe products. So I could describe, here's an example. I could describe my Pinterest bootcamp and be like, it's 5 days, 15 minutes. We have the AI assistant. We have all these things. That's great. Or I could just say, if you want to end after 5 days, knowing that you've confidently set up your Pinterest to start working without you, and you know you have the strategy in place, do this, right? People don't care about the features as much as they care about the outcome. So we want to position the outcome. And so a lot of times what happens is we could put like social media planner PDF. Okay, that's great. But we want to know what is that? What exactly is that? We don't want any ambiguity. So we could say plan a month of content in 30 minutes, right? That is way more clear and compelling. That tells me what it does for me. So if you imagine every shopper out there is thinking, what's in it for me? Why do I need this? We want to promise a result and be very honest about what that result is. And that small change can make such a difference on Pinterest because when there is something that is maybe clever but not clear, people will continue to scroll until they find something that is clear.
Yes. Did you hear Alex Hormozi say that the other day?
No, but he's genius. And I totally subscribe. And I think Donald Miller was the one who came up with that because he's so good with words. And he's like, we're shifting out of this like cheeky copy phase more into this phase of like, tell me exactly what this is and exactly what I'm going to get. Because that's what people need to know, you know?
Yes, totally. And what you're talking about today, so for everyone can see, it seems like everyone who started with us in the beginning, they're hanging on. So they
Oh,
are
thanks for being
happy.
here.
Um,
Yeah.
but
We can keep going, Dylan. We're good. We can keep rolling if you need to.
you're good. Okay. So with the boot camp, so it's next week. You said
Yep.
15 minutes a day.
Yes.
So everyone, like moms, people who are working, question, because I
Yep.
think I've heard this question come up. If they are like busy or something or distracted,
Yeah.
can they rewatch the 15 minutes?
Yes. Yep. So we go live every day. So I go for 15 minutes and then I answer Q&A. If you don't need the Q&A or don't want it, you don't need to watch it, but it is fun. And
Yeah.
so the recordings are available for about 10 days. So you have time to watch it and catch up. The best success is from people who at least stay on pace day by day. And so I would challenge you, like, find a 15-minute window to just learn the content. And then now with the AI tool added, I have it built out. So it literally says, like, click which day you're on inside of the GPT and it'll walk you through it. So it'll ask you a few questions based on the content and then it'll help you figure that out. So it is very little effort, very little lift, and it just helps you to start to understand, okay, what is Pinterest in regards to my marketing strategy? Why is this going to work for me? And how do I simply get started with confidence? And so it's really easy. And yes, there are replays, but I love the live energy. Even if there's tech glitches, I'm like, let's roll. Like, this is so live. It's so good, you know?
That's great. And if you are in the YouTube chat right now, just comment signed up so we know that you signed up, and you can let everyone know. We'd love to give you a shout out, but let us know if you signed up. And then with this, also it's January. So I love the idea of committing to a platform at the start of the year. I don't know how you feel about that, but I mean, what you do now, like by the end of the year, if someone was to stay consistent, maybe you can think of some students or something you've worked with, but if someone stayed consistent with what they're learning in your trainings, what could happen at the end of the year?
I mean, so we just had a student, her name is SK Carr, and she did the boot camp with us last June.
Mhm.
And literally within 60 days, she had over 1 million views, had never used the platform before. 1 million views. She was literally like jaw on the floor, like she just couldn't believe it. Now, there are also students who maybe don't get 1 million views, but they get tons of traffic, right? Like, we know how wide that gap is between somebody consuming an Instagram post, clicking the link in your bio, and then taking the action you want them to take. And so what's amazing is like, you can look at, like, what does success look like for you on the platform? It could be millions of views. It could also be getting 12 people to see the painting you just painted, right? And so what is awesome is that, like, I think that if you get started now, and the reason why we set this right when we did is this is the time of year where people's resolutions start to fall off the bandwagon, right? There are so many different studies that have been done that show that right now we are realizing that things we said we were going to do January 1st might not be happening. Right now, we are realizing that our big, hairy, audacious goals might not actually be aligned with the type of life we want to live. And so I want this to be a challenge in the sense of, are you doing what you said you were going to do? If you are, is that actually even working for you? And if it's not, let me just show you a different path towards freedom. And so I'm just like so excited at this beginning of the year energy. And also just that it is a system that once you learn the entire system, it takes about 1 hour a week. To me, when I look at all the different ways we spend the hours in our days, it is the most valuable hour that you can spend. And again, if you don't want to spend it, you can outsource it. And I just want you to see that. I want you to understand it. I want you to know that it exists and it is there for you, and that you can turn to different strategies when you want to be quiet, or when you need a break, or when you don't want to post, or when your posts aren't working. There's something that's a much quieter rhythm that can work with you and not against you.
And the best part is you want to be able to measure this, and you can
Yes.
measure this every day in Etsy. You can see exactly which listings are getting the traffic and what the sales are and what your conversion rate is. So you can measure this. And if you're not convinced, I know we have a lot of new people who just jumped on. It sounds like if you're not convinced, I mean, the metrics don't lie. Like 552,000 visits. If I had paid like $1 per visit,
Imagine. And $1 would be nothing in today's ad world, right? Like, it's crazy. I think too, what I love is that when you think about starting a business, so many entrepreneurs start a business for freedom, right? Like that is the promise. That is what we promise our partners, our spouses, our parents. Like we're like, trust me on this. This is going to unlock some sort of freedom. And a lot of times entrepreneurship can do that, but it doesn't, right? A lot of times we find ourselves getting onto these hamster wheels where we're more consumed. Our laptop is never closing. We're never taking time off. You know, there's that joke of like entrepreneurs would rather work 24/7 than 9 to 5, right? And that is the reality. And what I've realized is that when you create intentional systems in your business, you are set free. And for me, I have ADHD. And so systems used to feel so constraining, right? I lied to myself and I felt like a system in anywhere in my life was going to take away my creativity and my spunk. But what I've realized is that systems have unlocked my ability to be creative with my children, in my life, in my work, because I know that things are moving and working for me even when I'm not working. And there are times in my life where I'm like, I don't want to post on the internet. I have nothing to say. I don't want to add to the noise. There are times when I'm like, I just want to sign off. Like I was telling Dylan when we were together this summer, like I went to Greece for a week and like my team didn't even talk to me and nobody bothered me. And I had such beautiful time with my husband. She's like, what world is that? And so it's like, I want to show people that there is an actual path to freedom, that there are ways to create and not be worried about like that creation just living and dying within a post or two, that your work actually has the ability to work for you. And that is like where my real passion is. And so it's like, if you have created anything, I want you to get the attention and the eyes and the traction and the results that you deserve. And it's not your fault if that hasn't happened. You're playing off of rule books that weren't built for creative entrepreneurs. And so I'm like, let me give you a different playbook to follow that will take very little amounts of time to give you your time back so you can be creative, which is probably what your heart's desire likely is.
Completely. Like I probably spent 5% of the time doing Pinterest compared to Facebook, and the results difference is insane.
Crazy. It's crazy.
That's crazy. And this also builds in more profitability into your business. So if you are relying on Etsy ads right now, think about what you're spending on ads, how efficient that is, or most likely is not. Etsy ads, Jenna, are like probably one of the worst ways to spend your money right now.
Oh. And you feel like you have to, though. That's the problem, is like we feel stuck. Like, how else do I get my work in front of people? Like, how else do I get these creations seen? It's nobody's fault. It's just the system isn't built for people like us.
Right. And, the amount of time that you should be spending on product development and new listings, that's where time should be spent, not slaving over, 2 hours on an Instagram post or something.
Right.
And so an hour a week, you can learn all of this more in depth next week with Jenna. So definitely join that. We'll put the link again in the chat. You'll get 1,000 SEO optimized listing board titles and descriptions from us when you join. And they're all classified by customer, very organized. So definitely take advantage. And then Jenna, is there anything else that we want to touch on as far as next week?
The final thing I'll say is that I feel like one of the biggest hardships of entrepreneurship, and Dylan, you and I connected on this, is feeling alone in entrepreneurship. That is why you and I got together with some girlfriends. Like, I think that we are craving depth and community. And I just got to say, you have an amazing community. I have an amazing community. I want people to get into spaces where they feel like they're not alone, where they're not crazy, where they're working towards something that people are excited about. And so if you just feel like you're kind of like slugging through entrepreneurship alone, get in this community. I have so many people that have made lifelong friends, that have ended up hiring each other, that have worked together, that have met up in real life. And I love the community so much. I just remember during our last boot camp, like I would wake up and just get in there and be commenting. I would go to bed. Like I was just so inspired by all the amazing creators and all the amazing humans. And so if this year just feels like you're isolated or you're craving depth and community, just pay $27 to get in a space where people are creating work and they want their work found. Like that will make you feel like you are a part of a collective that is so much bigger. And it's just so fun. So I am so excited. I love delivering on it. I love just getting people started. I think that for entrepreneurship, a lot of times the hardest step is the first step. And so if I can get you to actually take that first step, I am confident that you will be hungry for more and more as you start to see the magic and the ease that is right on the other side of it for you. So I'm excited for the bootcamp.
Totally. And ask yourself this, is my current strategy working?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, if you're not easily getting outside traffic to your shop, then if you keep doing more of what is not working, does that make it work? No, that's crazy. That's like, that's wasting all your time throwing it away. So you have to take different action if you want a different result. And if you're thinking Pinterest doesn't work for me, well, you just didn't have the directions. So Jenna is giving you literally the directions to get tons of free traffic. And this is an incredible opportunity. So thank you for bringing it to my audience.
Yes. And we have a money back guarantee. Like I am so confident in what I'm teaching that if after day 2, you're like, this isn't it, or Jenna's not it for me, cool. I will happily refund your money. I think we had a less than 1% refund rate last time. So like, I love teaching. I love this space and I can't wait to prove you wrong. If you have doubts, like bring them on, bring all your doubts, bring your shame. Let's go. Let's tackle it together. It's going to be so much fun.
Amazing, amazing. And for everyone watching this later on, we will be giving you a link to get some Pinterest resources if you're watching this later on, but do not miss this next week. We're going to be cheering you on too. And I'm excited for you, Jenna. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you for introing me to your amazing community. I'm so excited to get to know you all.